The big news in podcasting this week was Spotify canceling 10 shows from its Parcast and Gimlet studios, leading to a layoff of just under 5% of its workforce. And it's all because of greed.
And now, a look at what's trending in the podcast world and how it can help your show. It's the Jag Show Podcast.
According to The Hollywood Reporter, Gimlet's How to Save a Planet, Crime Show, and Every Little Thing, and Parcast's Medical Murders, Female Criminals, Crimes of Passion, Dictator, Mythology, Haunted Places, and Urban Legends are all going away in the next month. Now, one might argue this is a natural thinning of the herd, that Spotify's cutting underperforming shows to focus on their heavy hitters. But that argument misses the point. These shows are Spotify exclusives. You won't find them on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon, or elsewhere. While it's true Spotify is one of the biggest players in podcasting, they are far from the only game in town. When you keep a product off of certain distribution channels, the content had better be an absolute home run and worth the price of admission to Spotify. The more barriers in place, the better the content needs to be. If it's not A-plus material, you are handicapping the show's success, and in some cases, people will be out of a job. Another bad look for Spotify, and a reminder that you need to be crystal clear on who owns your show's content. Their show, Sex, Lies, and DM Slides, was created in September of 2020. The hosts parted ways at Spotify, and now the show's being made without them. Same name and everything. Spotify says they own the intellectual property of the name. The article from Pod News linked in today's show notes. Another piece of advice for your podcast: make it recommendable to listeners and to Google. Steve Goldstein talks about the overwhelming amount of choice in our lives, from Netflix to toothpaste, in this week's Amplify Media newsletter. How are people finding your podcast? Recommendations. Connect with your audience and make them want to tell their friends and family about your show. And don't forget about Google and SEO. Make sure both your show description and your individual episode descriptions clearly explain your show in a way that will be good for Google. Again, that newsletter linked in today's show notes. Finally, some podcasting quick hits. Arthur the Aardvark, launching a podcast series next Thursday, October 20th, repurposing some content from that former kids show. Adnan Syed, the subject of the groundbreaking Serial podcast, has had all charges against him dropped after serving 23 years in prison for a murder he did not commit. And speaking of true crime podcasts, Kim Kardashian, investigating the case of Kevin Keith, who was convicted of a triple murder in 1994. He maintains his innocence. The Spotify show is called Kim Kardashian's The System, and some of the survivors of the attack are not happy with the show. Well, I mean, frankly, if you can't trust Kim Kardashian as a serious investigative reporter, who can you trust? As a reminder, I'm here to help you with all of your podcasting questions and needs, and if you want this show emailed to you every week, just visit jagindetroit.com/subscribe. Until next week, stay healthy and stay safe. Later.
The most popular ways to grow a podcast are recommendations of friends and family. So share this episode with someone you know. And for any questions you have about podcasts, find Jag online at jagindetroit.com.